half of the infrastructure was passed, which means Manchin's going to kill voting rights and he's going to then kill the human part of the infrastructure because he wants his people to be poor. That's just the Southern way. Before we get on to that, we're going to talk about. I want to continue hammering a situation because I didn't about gaslighting. Now, several weeks or however whiles ago, I had to deal with Ms. Lewis. This is a gaslight. I'm going to explain why this is a gaslight. You see those bunny ears? During Mrs. Lewis's Miss Lewis, or that's Jana Lewis's, she kept this thing where I could never communicate, but that was how she would communicate. I feel sorry for Mr. Lewis. He put up with this, his wife doing this for 30 fucking years. I'm surprised he didn't shoot her, quite honestly, because the destruction of self was horrific. She is absolutely a terrible human being. Narcissistic abuse is horrible because, especially, it's just this nonstop of just like, what the yeah. And, but, anyways, the reason I say this is after, um, after I spoke about, showed that they were Ty Briscoe and Jana Lewis had, and Holly Adams had, under California law, gang raped Madison Orange. This is a story that I'll have to, because I'm going to write the whole story and place it into and send it to the DA. Nothing's going to happen, but it's going to be a timestamp for Madison Orange if she ever decides to get out of the situation. But she's never. I don't think she will. I think they're going to, because the normal situation that happens with this type of thing is they're going to keep trying to. They're going to destroy her. They're going to absolutely destroy her over the next year or two. They're going to get closer to her and then slowly destroy her, and they're going to keep her away from everyone. That's the one thing. Segregation. And you see what Trump is doing. The segregation of and the attacking of people who don't do what they tell you to do. I was having a conversation with this gentleman. He just was an older gentleman, not myself, and he was talking about how when he was younger, he just wanted to go play basketball, did no biggies, right? And he's playing basketball and sees other European Americans tell him that you can't play basketball with those people. It's like, whoa, what about that whole freedom thing? Bigots and narcissism, the actions are the exact same thing. The actions happen in almost the exact same way, except there's no love bombing. But the triangulation, the segregation, the destruction of self, all are the things that happen. Right now, it is apparent, either through the meme set, which is way more complicated, I don't want to get into, or direct action, which I think it's more direct action by Mr. Briscoe. I have a new downstairs neighbor, and I've listened to him for the last several weeks, but it was only yesterday when I was listening to him speaking with somebody else. I was like, all right, and then today he started his crap. Same shit, different pile. It's just like, dude, did they ever? It's effective on most people. I'm not most people, and you can hear the greed. You can hear the language that's designed to manipulate. It's the type of people who can never drop your guard around, and it really sucks. But this is a gaslight, and I'll show you how. All right, see here, that's supposed to be representing me, and then that represents Ty, the Black Bunny ears. She deleted the video where I was showing that they had gang raped on purpose Madison Orange. Now Madison, and she's going to try to attack me, because it's out of the shame wound, which would be very stupid because then I'll just absolutely dismantle her. But that's also what makes me. They are more afraid of me because I can actually see the patterns and I could do them in real time, which is even more dangerous for people who do these things. And I can hear a person's personality as their three, id, ego, super ego personality, male or female, in real time. It's almost annoying, to be honest with you. And so this was a gaslight. And but the fact that they deleted all of those other videos is the cover up, and that's the destruction of evidence. Still have to assume, since there was a thing saying that the president's starting, there's exasperation between the White House and the vice president, that she still won't even get rid of the people that are beneath her her chief of staff. The vice president doesn't seem to get it. B, mostly because it is, when I was looking at going through some psych again, who's this dude? Da, 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 da. Even if I had a PhD, or even if well, obviously I don't make money because I don't want, I have other situations. I can't, there's this, she can't break free. And then the, the president is trusting her more, having her meet in high level with France's, with Sarkozy. But it's, and that's just the culture of California. Narcissism and psychopathy. It seems to be every time I've gone to California, and I've lived there my youth. I did there for a year, then I've come back. But you can, especially after you travel, and if you're a person who, as such as myself, who does pay attention to language, it's just pervasive and throughout the whole culture. And then on top of it, because of the African American, like the individual beneath me, he doesn't realize I know he's Californian. Just the rhythm of his language, or has been around that type of rhythmic, and it sucks, you know. But she's willing to go down. What I was getting to is, as I said, I assume that they're still protecting this drug dealer. Drug dealers are still attacking me. I'm still doing sides of trying to keep myself alive, and they're all waiting for Biden to die, and then I assume at that point they'll kill me, and it will be, at that time it'll be the president of the United States, or they'll try to put me in jail or whatever. But either way, they're trying to segregate me and destroy me. Instead of looking into herself and going, you know what? Yeah, I don't like this guy. Yeah, I don't like what he has to say. But yes, it does make sense. And yes, he is trying to look out. They don't care. It's all about the emote. And that's how they get you. They get you into the emote. And then you might say, well, that's feminine. Well, that's why I say narcissism is feminine and psychopathy is the masculine. Well, the same thing. Cluster B situation. Emotion object versus just pure object. Still interspecies predation. So, Vice President's an amazing woman. She's an amazing person. I know just by being Jamaican, I know her dad's probably a royal pain in the butt, hard, stubborn, willful, totally things that are necessary. But if you lose your ability to be open minded and learn new things and adapt and create and understand and see new abilities, then you're just a psychopath or a narcissist. You're not a human being. It takes a lot. And it removes the self from the self that is the middle America and the way most Americans do outside of the South, even in the South. Because I was reading this another thing, I was going back through psychology about honor cultures. And there was one thing about honor cultures that really fit into the psychopathy or narcissistic or externalizations, and so those uses externalization of self, is high honor cultures expect the others around them to attack for them. Sound familiar? And as I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking they call it a high honor, but it's, when you look at honor in itself, and even in the definition, it's actually a low honor action. And especially knowing how people in this, I nothing against the South, there's a lot of parts you If it's an in group that's this high honor thing, but it's out group, they're horribly dishonorable. That's just my observation, and I've noticed that about even all types of those high quote high honor societies. They're not very honorable, and I think that's what makes, because the honor has to be out there as opposed to the honor internalized as of oneself. Once again, which fits into the externalization versus internalization of self. I could say it for myself today. Me being me is like just getting the thing. Lady's talking to me. I don't know, she has a set of knockers. I'm like, hey, hello. Oops, my bad. But it's you know, it's that honor society. It's that lack of honor. Actually, I think it should be called. And so this is a gaslight, and this is how the gaslight is done, but through the bunny ears. And the reason I know this is the bunny ears is because she was originally putting them on, and I was like, oh, because everything's external. She got it off of one of her Hopper, Dennis Hopper, or whatever. He was a DJ, and so after giving her the course that she said she didn't watch, but I guarantee you go through her receipts, she did purchase that course. If I was ever put Jana Lewis into the courts and start going through this, I would destroy her. It'd just be very expensive, but I would destroy her. And she's never met anyone who could do that. So, I have Briscoe who sent 4 people to try to kill me. It's quite hilarious. You keep protecting him. You don't realize what's coming down the pike if you can't stop Trump. Of course, I can understand Kathleen Kennedy's upsetness. Yeah, it's a word. You understand what I'm talking about? It's a flippin' word. But if I had been but think of how she's attacked me. I can only imagine how devastating that would have been if I had just been a regular fan. She would have destroyed their life. How dare her? But you're protecting her. You're protecting this drug dealer. You're protecting the cartels. That is third world narco frickin' country shit. But anyways, I'm just a voter. All right, this is the S&P 500, and this is of course going back to 1973, and we're going to stay here at 2009, which is our main concern. This is the exponent. This is a moving average, and this is the exponential moving average. And I think which moving average am I using? Okay, 99 moving average, 99 period moving average. We're sitting here seeing at 2009. This is at the time the Fed started pumping money into the economy, and they were doing that through buying back stocks and call it quantitative easings, or removing the capital. But what they basically did was just prop up the stock market. From here up to here is a bunch of BS. Most of this gains is because of the Fed. Everybody knows it. Now, the reason we're talking about this is it's about inflation. Manchin's thing is boogeyman, oh, about inflation. Notice he's talking about fear. Manchin's trying to kill the human infrastructure part of the bill. We need to start taking and looking at each county, city by city, how the human infrastructure is going to help their constituents. It is known within the South they purposely kept people poor, and they blamed it on African Americans. And then you have the cultural narcissism or cultural externalization to reinforce it. And then African Americans, African Americans, black, constantly with Bo the Fifth Columnist did an excellent video. I think it was today or yesterday, talking about the guy wrote in, says most of the black folks he knows are good people. Duh. Most are. But culture is slowly ripping that apart because of the crime bill and the necessary actions to survive as a gang member or in a prison situation, and then brought out into, and especially if you're brought in from they're young and then come out when they're older, is counter to what's necessary from the long-term thinking to create businesses, to create education, to think more about one's than just oneself within a larger context, even while at the same time thinking of oneself. As one guy told me, it was just a bunch of kids, and technically, yeah, it is. That is done on purpose and then reinforced as a cultural entity that was not there in the format that it is today. Fortunately, there's a lot of African American black folks who are pushing back. Love that movie. I have to finish watching it, The Harder They Fall, but you're seeing that it's coming. That there are people who stood for themselves. Who there are people. They have history. That's why they don't want CRT and all this other thing. They don't want bigots. Do not want you people other than themselves to have history. Yes, I have history that is connected to certain things, but I also know being Jamaican, there's going to be that history of the triangle of trade. So yes, some parts are slave. If you were to do the whole genetic memory thing, some people believe in it, some people don't. The genetic memories go part slave, part whatever. But even those genetic memories are still very powerful. You can't take away my history. You can't take away myself. And that was the first thing that everyone tries to attack. That's when I know that I'm right on the right track, because if they try to take away self, then you know you are true. And most people don't live to themselves, so therefore they're easy to destroy through self because they aren't living a true self. You ran into me. Oopsie. So back to what's going on. This is inflation. What they're really worried about is deflation, so to speak. The deflationary as the Fed starts not pumping money into the stock market, and it's going to have to raise interest rates, remove cash as these bills start pushing cash into the economy. The Fed is going to have to remove cash from the stock market. And that's what they're really afraid of. That's what Manchin is protecting. He's protecting his donors from the Fed moving money from the stock market, from Wall Street back into Main Street, so that way the actual economy, the true, quote, as the economists call it, the real economy, grows. That takes a little bit longer, and everyone's just gotten used to the Kool-Aid of quick cash. So anything that Manchin says about inflation, it's a bunch of BS. This is what it's about. It's about deflating the stock market by, and that's what Romney was doing, cutting out the middle class from being able to invest, cutting out that Jobs Act of 2012, which allows middle class persons to invest, but they still have to reach those thresholds set down in 1933. But we now have more informational be able to reach me. So it was set. It would help people invest their money, either be a type of investors, qualified or a qualified investor, and things like that, and what types of mixes that you can invest under private placements. So once again, this is nothing that Manchin's line is a bunch of BS. Call him out on it. He's more worried. He wants to keep his people poor. So in cinema, she did that with the whole the drug prices, drug things. That was what I call throwaway emotion. She did that. Oh, here, shut up, you know ones, because we're not gonna let it go through anyway. So it didn't matter. Push it through and shove it down her throat. Now it might seem mean, but no, it's not being mean. When somebody's being mean to you, and then you're mean, and you're like, "Hey, don't be mean to me," and they're still mean to you, and you take that and you shove it down their throat, you're not being mean. You're standing up for yourself. There's a difference. Da, 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 da. So once again, well, I haven't done hardly anything of this. I was going back through this. I'm like, oh my gosh, this I nailed a lot of these things. But voting rights, why are they fighting so hard to stop voting rights? Obviously, originally it was you get voting rights through, then you have the leverage to get the infrastructure bill through because now you have the votes. If they can stop voting rights from going through, that means they don't have to worry about the second infrastructure bill, and then that way you lose in the 2022 midterms, and then Trump gets into 2024, and he's a moron, and he's a brat, and he will start a war. And we're already hearing the things that are going on where they said, "Oh, we won't do that until 2024. We won't be do anything into this until 24, 24." We're already hearing Michael Flynn talking about destroying secularism. So, which means it would have to destroy democracy and would have to destroy American democracy and would have to destroy the Constitution because the Constitution is built on secularism. The battle for America is written on the back of the dollar bill. In God We Trust was not placed on the on the back until the 50s, and before it used to be a treasury note as well. But we're not going to go there. But that was to say, yeah, that's the non-secularist shot over the bow. That's the ones who want a king. And they thinking Trump's going to be a tyrant, petty tyrant king. Xi's setting himself up for next 30 years. He assumes he's going to be in power for 30 years, as by how he structured things. The world needs America just as much as America needs the world. So let's continue on. So, voting rights, national level floor, local level administration, mail-in voting, what they're trying to get rid of, because we're being run by 4% of the country. 1 to 4% of these loud idiots are basically setting the stage for the rest of the country, and it's wrong, and it's dangerous, and it's going to lead to the destruction. And we're running headlong in. We've hit the 14 points of fascism, both through Britt and Umberto Eco. 14 points, two different ways. We're running headlong into it. If we're going to break down the filibuster, so what are we losing? We're losing the human infrastructure. Right now we got the physical infrastructure. That was what was passed. Transportation, rail, technology. Human infrastructure, they're not funding the VA. They're not doing anything. Of course, they don't want to serve underserved populations. And you can't. And the thing is, Manchin, what killed me about Manchin was saying, "Oh, the black folks are coming for your money," but the money that would be going to his people are what is it, 80 or 90% European Caucasoid state between him and Kentucky and McConnell, who still hasn't told us what his wife was doing in our transportation systems and how her shipping company benefited from it. Because I technically think she's corrupt. We'll see, but we we need this to be competitive. One of the things right now is the outrage, the emote, as they're hammering the amygdala of the right wing of the Republicans, is keeping them angry. The amygdala is the center part of your brain, and they squeezes your pineal gland, keeps you angry. It's your center of your emotion state. But everyone was talking about the Nord Stream with the pipeline from Russia into Europe, and then how Putin right now is holding back supplies of gas, natural gas, for coming up for winters, and also keeping the gas prices up. This is to create discord here by being And then they're saying, well, we should be drilling more. So that we're drilling a ton, dude. And the Keystone pipeline would have done nothing. We should actually switch it to a hydrogen pipeline and get ahead of the curve. But I digress on that one. And also that way it can be finished. But one of the things that everyone was saying, well, why did Biden let say backing completion? Well, that's awesome. You back the completion of that pipeline, and at the same time accelerate the hydrogen economy or the electrical economy, or wind, solar, whatever the economies as far as creating power. Now, the thing that Putin was going to use to bludgeon Europe with now becomes his bludgeon. Oh, you don't want to play? Okay, we'll just up our freaking hydrogen production, or we'll just, and then it lowers the cost, and it puts pressure back on Europe. So they're totally outside. See, liquid natural gas. I think Qatar is working on trying to be the leader in that, which is the same type of shipping containment for the hydrogen because you have to cool it to bring it down into a liquid state. These are the same types of things that are going on. This is the geopolitics of what's going on and why we need to do this. And we could still hold the value of the reserve currency, but for us to be the reserve currency still, because right now as a reserve currency, all the oil in the world is held in dollars, i.e. the dollar is oil. How do we maintain that and maintain that reserve currency status? Well, then it becomes the trade. And trust me, we live very well because that we have the reserve currency status. So what we have next is the fight that Manchin's going to try to kill, and he's going to say the cost. Screw the cost. If you're in a business person, you go, okay, this is a cost me $50 million to put this capital product into for the capital production of something. Okay, the first thing I want to know is my ROI and return on my investment and return on my capital. So when do I get my money back? So what time, how long is the time frame did I get my $50 million out? And what is the cash flows on that 50 million? So in other words, if I put 50 million in, what's the percentage of back? So I should get let's say I'm supposed to get $2 million per year back. Okay, when do I receive that capital output? Is it you're going to have have 2 3 years where it's not going to show up, then 4 5 6 years, and then to 10 years out you get your capital back. 22 times 5 10. I mean 50 divided by 2, and that's how you have to think of it. He knows this because he's making $5 million a year from his coal power plant, and I think so he knows these things. Plus the $31 million his daughter pulled out of the drug company that she shipped overseas, leaving his people in his state without a job that pays really good, and now that breaks up the mind because you have to pull people together, you get into a hive mind, and that creates efficiencies. And all that training out the window just because she wanted to make a couple of bucks. It's a bunch of BS, personally. And it makes us all poor. It makes the entire state poor. How has he been their senator for so long? It's mind-boggling to me. So this is where we're at. Do the Democrats have the backbone? Are they going to let are they going to destroy our country for their own personal greed? Yeah, I remember that one. That was a great program. You can start your own small business. You get a microloan for 25K. It was working too well, so they cut it. It was working too well, so they cut it. It has to be. It was like anytime something works too well, it gets too many people going in the right direction, they cut it. Um, we Starlink. I think that's Elon Musk's idea. And that's just basically using the GSM type system to create a mesh network of basically it's taking a cell tower and putting it in space. And it's low power still sat station. So now, person in the village, wherever the heck, can maybe do their little plot and then take it to market and know that their prices are on the global stage. And this has been shown not just so much from Starlink, but having people being able to connect into the price points of what's really going on helps their a life a lot better, and it makes us look better as well. And we need these things because once the quantum computing thing is done, whoever wins the quantum race wins the 21st century. And if we are not educating our people to be able to get into this world, to output, create productive capacity, we're going to get smoked. And I personally, in a way, I think McConnell knows this just by his actions. I think he was going to tank the country and dip, but I don't know. He just seeks power. He's just personally a turd who keeps screwing over his home state, keeps them poor. And then remember when he had that several months ago, he was like, enjoy a little bit of money. Basically, say you're supposed to be poor. Most of the money he gets goes to because of Fort Knox. I'm going to do a research thing where I'm going to remove the money that he gets from federal aid for Fort Knox from the military and see how little how much he's been screwing over his people. And so here's the thing. Hartman had something. There was another thing. There's another put out a couple of days ago, years ago. But we definitely need, before the People Act and the Build Back Better Act, and then you have the debt ceiling. You need to push all three of them through with the filibuster at the exact same time. McConnell's purposely trying to tank everything. And that's what's so horrible about these modern day Republicans who aren't really Republicans, because Republicans actually still believed these are the Dixiecrats that have taken over the Republican Party, who are authoritarians, who believe that we're supposed to have a king. This is who they are. They're not Republicans. Republicans are business persons, but business is like, well, I can still make money. Yeah. Ask what happens to all of those companies in these authoritarian countries. What happened to Jack Ma? He seems to be quiet all of a sudden. So, oh, that's the other thing. I have not know. I don't know at the time of this recording if the jury has gone to into deliberation. I know there was closing arguments, but if so, I'm pretty much assuming Kyle Rittenhouse is going to get off. Just assuming he's going to get off. Ahmaud Arbery is just from one way the judge, unless it becomes a mistrial, which it should, because the judge, his behavior was just pure, absolutely abhorrent. That judge should not have. And then the way the jury was picked, but can't do anything about that. Which you could see the power of what they've done. They've completely. You can't. They've made it where you could be bigoted, and they're maintaining their power because they couldn't change. They said with a, and then Ahmaud Arbery case going, this is racism, this is bigotry, but I cannot do anything about it because it was so blatant. So they're good. Those three guys are going to get off. Julius Jones, we know that unless you can get Oklahoma, you create a stay of where in Oklahoma where where is it in Oklahoma a stay of execution because it's lacking dignity. That's going to happen as well. Now, here's the thing. How do you use this anger? It's up to you, African American, or just people in general who believe in in America, in the idea of America. If you're not out on the streets or if you're not hammering your congresspersons after that, after these three terrible things happen, I don't know. It's easy. It's easy to do things when you're angry. It's hard to have the focus when there's not a lot of motion. When it's just like, okay, I could see the road ahead, I'll just take one foot in front of the other. But anger doesn't last long. It has a really short shelf life. It's not supposed to, flight, fight, or freeze, or fawn response is not supposed to be happening for more than just a few moments. That's why there's always a constant outrage machine. That's why Judge Janine is always yelling. Did you feel that through your entire body? Listen to her. It's designed to do that. Or the Tucker Carlson face. I'm just asking questions. Yeah. And then doing the puppy dog soft face, which is a bunch of BS. Every so often, a little crack, and you'll just see the hate rage come out. I don't know. I don't know if America's going to make it. African Americans and Democrats always fold when it's necessary. The 1% know this. They pay you twofold. They pay the Democrats twofold. Not twofold, but twofold to be pushed over, be walked upon. The same processes that I saw and dealt with Miss Jenna Lewis, I pretty much her mom because it's the same person from my perspective. The same things. What happened to Miss Jenna Lewis? What happened to Ms. Lewis? Mrs. Lewis. Apparently, she's living well off the money from her husband's death, and she wants to sue me. Please go right ahead, and I'll start digging into your entire life and your family, and I will have no qualms of doing so. Because the hell that your daughter put me through sucked. All because I was like, hey, dude, just have lunch, man. Hey, dude. The lack of responsibility, the lack of self esteem, the overall cowardice, it's heartbreaking, personally. But congratulations on getting the first half of the bill through. Yes, take a victory lap, enjoy the moment. Yeah, we got halfway through. We got the beachhead. Let's go get the rest of it. Because if we don't get the rest of it, then what was the fighting? What was all this worth? Manchin and Sinema is bought out. Manchin doesn't care. They're so worried about their pockets and whatever, they don't see the bigger picture. They don't see they're going to drive this country into a fascist. And and if they do, they're well, we're white. We don't. It's not going to affect us. Boy, are you stupid? If you just don't call me stupid. Well, don't do stupid things. All right, just my day. I hope you have a great one. Until the next time.